Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Cordes, and you are in for such a treat. We arrived early to make certain we were all set up for this gathering today, and we got a little preview of the presentation that you've come to see, and I think you're going to love it. And we're so grateful for all of you for attending. I graduated from Syracuse in 1984 with a degree in political science, and I'm now the president and CEO of United Way of Central Ohio, located in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm here today in my capacity as a member of the College of Arts and Sciences Dean's Advisory Board. And I want to welcome you to today's A&S Alumni Academy presentation. Arts and Sciences presents these Zoom talks by faculty and alumni as a way of letting alumni know of the great research and scholarship happening in the college. As we begin, we have a few housekeeping items to share. First, we ask everyone to mute their microphones. This will ensure that everyone can hear our presenter. We are recording this event and it will be shared on the college's website for people to view after this meeting. And I'm hearing an echo. Are you? I'll keep trying.
Yeah, we are.
Is there anything I can do about that?
It seems to have resolved.
Okay, great. If you do not want your image recorded, we urge you to disable your video camera by clicking the video camera icon in the lower left-hand corner. Closed captioning services are provided for this event. At this time, please direct your attention to the chat for additional instructions on the closed captions and a few other informational items. Right now, I'd like to introduce our speaker this afternoon. Robert Searing is the curator of history at the Onondaga Historical Association in Syracuse. He has a BA in history from Binghamton University, and he said he was thrilled when he went to Syracuse for his master's degree. He's been wearing an orange shirt ever since then. It's in American history. He grew up in Binghamton and loved Syracuse sports. So glad that he's now living in Syracuse. I believe you're in Syracuse. The Onondaga Historical Association oversees 5 museums, including the Onondaga Historical Museum in downtown Syracuse. As curator, Bob is responsible for exhibit creation, publishing articles in a variety of media outlets, presentations, and other regular radio and television appearances. He is an adjunct in the history department at SUNY Cortland and Tompkins Cortland Community College, and he writes a weekly column for the Syracuse Post-Standard. I'm excited for today's conversation. So with that, I will turn our program over to Bob. Thank you.
Oh, Bob, you're muted.
Can we hear me?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much to the College of Arts and Sciences for having me. I'm really looking forward to taking this stroll down 150 years worth of memory lane to one of my favorite buildings on a campus full of exquisite architecture. This is one that holds up the heart of the university. It was the university for 14 years by itself. And really my plan today is to sort of take us through, usually using images culled in large part from Special Collections Research Center up there on the 6th floor of Byrd Library. So I'd like to give a special shout out to our friends to there, and in addition to our extensive holdings at the Onondaga Historical Association. So I'm really looking forward to celebrating 150 years of the Hall of Languages. At 2:30 on the afternoon of May 8th, 1873, the new college bell rang out brightly, calling the assembled crowd, led by Chancellor Alexander Winchell, to order inside the magnificent new edifice that looked out from its perch high above the bustling city below. For you shall go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills before you and the trees of the fields clap their hands. And it shall be here to remember the Lord, an everlasting sign. With those words, the quartet of vocalists ceased, ending the opening hymn, Seek Ye the Lord, at the dedication of the Hall of Languages on what was known then as Piety Hill. It had been nearly 2 years since the cornerstone was laid for the very first building on Syracuse University's new campus. Over the ensuing century and a half, the city and the university that bears its name grew up together like siblings in a symbiotic relationship that has benefited both entities to an extent that the citizens gathered there on that beautiful May afternoon could only have dreamed of. But the story of that springtime celebration began amidst a bitter central New York winter. Back in February of 1870, the Methodist Church was having its annual state convention here in the bustling Salt City. And during those meetings, members of the church leadership, including Reverend Jesse Peck, who you see there, a graduate of Cazenovia Seminary and the presiding member of that convention, had been embroiled in a bit of a conflict over a college in Lima, New York, which was a Methodist school known as Genesee College. And this was a protracted battle over changing the location of it. Overcome with the opportunity and the verve in Syracuse, Peck shepherds through a resolution to found a new Methodist university in the city, a city that is ripe with opportunity and one where Methodism had thrived for decades. Overcome with joy, Reverend Peck donates a staggering $25,000 out of what is estimated to be a necessary $100,000. This is including any and all of his future earnings, which is an incredible thing to do. Peck's generosity spurred 3 other attendees of the Methodist Convention, including Eliaphilet Remington Jr. of the firearms manufacturer of Ilion, New York, Francis Root, Reverend J.H. Crawford of Syracuse, and the salt baron himself, the Honorable George F. Comstock, who had made millions of dollars in the salt industry. Syracuse is the salt city. Comstock would also play an important role moving forward. On March 30th, 1870, the Secretary of State of New York certified the Articles of Incorporation for Syracuse University. Reverend Peck was elected the president of the Board of Trustees, and Judge Comstock offered 50 acres of his land in the southeastern part of the city, adjacent to Oakwood Cemetery, overlooking Onondaga Lake, for a very, very fair price. An interesting aside, even though I will boo Cornell to no end as a Syracuse guy, just a few years before that, Andrew White and Ezra Cornell had been wooed by George Comstock to the very same site. And Ezra Cornell was trying to be convinced to build his new college on that hill. He, of course, chose another hill on another lake. That is a story for another day. But 5 years after that, now here we are, Comstock is giving the land to this new godly endeavor, Syracuse University. Reverend Peck and the board jump at the chance. They purchase the so-called Comstock tract and begin planning the construction of the campus. It would be a place dedicated to the advancement of, quote, religion and science. The work proceeded on the building just a few days after Reverend Peck lays the cornerstone for the building on August 31st, 1871. The fledgling university holds its first classes in the Myers Block on the corner of Montgomery and East Genesee Street in downtown Syracuse, actually just a few blocks from where I am currently sitting. And there is a picture of the Myers Block where it all began, where all of us now as alumni, this is the spot, right? The first class was comprised of only 41 students, which included 7 women. And this is something that I was saying to the ladies before we started, this is something that Syracuse University should be very proud of, us as alumni as well. The Methodists that formed this university were egalitarians. They believed in gender equality. They believed in educational opportunity. And that is something that is a bedrock principle of Syracuse University. Now, while the students are toiling in their classrooms in the Myers Block, scores of laborers culled from all around the community are working and toiling and sweating to build the new home on Piety Hill. That new home will be designed by the gentleman you are looking at there, local architect Horatio Nelson White, whose Onondaga County Savings Bank and the Gridley Building, which was completed in 1867, and here's a picture of that right there. This actually is a Johann Culverhouse painting that is in our collection at the OHA, and I put it up for 2 reasons. One is to show you This is 1871. Culver House paints this in 1871. This is the year that the university is founded, and the centerpiece of this painting is the Gridley Building, which was designed by Horatio Nelson White, another building in the Second Empire style. What you're looking at here on the left is actually the handwritten note from Horatio Nelson White. I found this in the special collections. That is basically his bid. And those of us that spend time in archives are better at reading cursive than others, perhaps, but this one is a tough one. But he says he submits his design for the Hall of Languages in the proposed Syracuse University, the cost of which, built and finished in a plain, substantial manner, will not exceed $110,000. He came in a little over budget, but we'll get to that, right? This beautiful Second Empire building is going to come in at only $130,000, and adjusted for inflation, my friends, that is about 2.7 million, which is honestly, all things considered, pretty cheap. It's built of Onondaga limestone that was quarried in the valley just south of campus. In fact, really adjacent to the Onondaga Nation territory, of course, which we are on all of their ancestral lands here at the center and seat of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Interestingly enough, the Onondaga limestone contains the vestiges of the earliest living inhabitants of this area, which was sea life and coral that is encased in the fossils that are in the building. Now, the blocks were faced, so you don't see them as well as you could, but I promise you that they are in there. So the next time you're on campus, when you're here for homecoming, or if you're lucky enough to be around campus today, go take a look at the building. Now, local stonecutters and masons, Randall and Nesdall, supervise the project. It takes just over a year and a half. They utilized cutting-edge construction techniques in this building. You mixed wood, iron, masonry to build the structure, and the eyes of the city are transfixed on this project. This is White's original drawing, as you can see in the bottom. This is dated August 31st, 1871. White was one of numerous bidders for this project. This was bid on by people as far away as Michigan. In fact, this is what we all could have been looking at. This is an alternative plan. This is the only alternative plan in the special collections. This was submitted by an architect named Wallet from out in Michigan. But again, you'll notice the Second Empire style, which is a reference to the Second French Empire. So this is how you date it. But again, these large windows and the gabled roofs, and this is really in vogue in the 1860s and 1870s. So it's not really surprising that this was also part of his deal. Now, this building that is going up on Piety Hill, right? The eyes of the city of Syracuse were transfixed on the project from the moment it began. According to reports in the Syracuse Courier from May 9th, the day after the dedication, the work had, quote, been of great interest to the people of Syracuse, quote, from the time the first sod was turned, such that, quote, scarcely a stone has been laid that cannot be recognized by some of our citizens. I love that, end quote. Accordingly, the joy, satisfaction, and pride were palpable on dedication day of, quote, our university, as it was called by the Courier. Among the dignitaries assembled in the Hall of Languages chapel that day were Peck, who was now a bishop in the church, Andrew White, the first president of Cornell and a Syracuse man himself, and you had Frederick Barnard, who was the president of Columbia. They are called together and they meet in this chapel. This picture is taken a little bit later. This contains the beautiful pipe organ that was added in 1886. But this is really the heart of Syracuse University from the time the building is dedicated in May of 1873 until the time that new buildings are constructed in the later 1880s. So this room is filled. Estimates of the crowd, both inside and out, are about 5,000. Included in these, and the festivities of that day were marked by solemnity and gaiety. Hymns were sung alongside the newly incorporated University Glee Club's rendition of a bawdy satire known as Kafuzalem, which had some interesting lyrics, which I will not repeat today because they are highly offensive to the modern ear. That was so well received, the crowd actually called for an encore, though. They loved it. They couldn't get enough of this satire. As the revelry subsides, though, Bishop Peck steps to the podium. This man who had labored so intently for over 3.5 years to bring the day to fruition articulates the difficulty in realizing the power of an idea. The university and the new Hall of Languages were the manifestation of an idea, quote, that arose in the mind of a single man, but was at length found to be a general idea, end quote. He thanked the community and various business departments for the support, financial and otherwise, in creating a university that Peck was certain, quote, would be equal to the emergencies of the future. Among the speakers of that day, and what you're looking at in the middle of that, my friends, is actually the program from the day, from the dedication ceremony. Among those speakers, though, was Frank Barnard, the gentleman that you are looking at on your right. Barnard was the president of Columbia College, which was, of course, the oldest college in the state, founded as King's College. Then during the Revolution, changes it because we couldn't have a King's College now that we were a republic, becomes Columbia. And so he is invited really as a representative of the beginnings of the upper education system in New York, and now here at this brand new temple, if you will, to science and education being built at Syracuse University. And Barnard offers up a vision that day titled America's Past and Rapid Ascent, and he ties America's rapid ascent among the nations of the world with the importance of institutions of higher learning and the diligence required of an educated citizenry in a republic like the United States. Harkening back to the American Revolution, then only a century off, Barnard lauded the, quote, hardy pioneers whose chief requisite was physical force. No longer, though, Barnard commented, was the, quote, sword mightier than the pen and the axe more powerful than either, end quote. Education, he continued, was too much neglected in those days, but it had produced a brilliant educational galaxy, now of which Syracuse University was but, quote, the latest star born into this lustrous family. He argued that the rapid developments in manufactures made during the last decades were but the latest examples of the, quote, indebtedness of the arts chiefly productive of wealth to science, end quote. He defined science as a system of learning, and universities like Syracuse were central to that system. As he neared the end of his remarks, Barnard echoed the sentiments of many of the revolutionary generation when he reminded the audience, then only 8 years removed from the ravages of the Civil War, the country's second revolution, that, quote, the American education system was essential to the security of the largest welfare and highest happiness to the people and to the permanent maintenance of their justly prized political institutions. As such, he hoped that it would, quote, never be overlooked or inadequately provided for. That was 150 years ago on May 8th. That was the dedication. And from that rousing ceremony, Syracuse University would go on from 41 students, right, to grow and grow and grow. And for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to go over, it'll be less formal remarks, and I'm going to sort of describe the way that Hall of Languages really represents and symbolizes and is there at the center of the university's growth. Remember, the university's only building from 1873 to 1887, when the Holden Observatory is built. They get this thing done just in time, my friends, because the Panic of 1873 hits, one of the worst economic depressions that the United States has ever seen, and it essentially cripples any and all plans for further development. There was supposed to be more than one building on the college campus, but they couldn't get around to building it, right? So this is it. And the last day of classes in the Myers block had actually happened a week before the dedication ceremony. And the entire class, all 41 students, 5 faculty at that particular point, literally walk from the Myers block up to campus to take in the splendor and the magnificence of this building. So you're looking at this picture here in 1875. Now, one of the things that I was talking to the ladies before we started about, and I think one of the sort of really interesting things to think about, considering what campus looks like now and what the city looks like now, is this is actually a picture taken from the south side of Syracuse, and you're looking back up sort of, let's say you're looking sort of east, sort of northeast, if you will, or maybe a little bit southeast. But there's the Hall of Languages on top, and you can see there's nothing there, right? Farmland, basically everywhere that you can see. Comstock doesn't start selling off the rest of his tracts to suburban developments until the beginning of the 20th century. So you have up on Piety Hill, which is what the locals referred to the university as, this really interesting and I think really sort of telling picture of just how isolated the university was, and really that they have this perch. And it reminds me, as an early Americanist, of the Winthrop sort of city on a hill moment, right? The idea that they're up there, people, the eyes of the city are on them, on their endeavor, and really sort of looking at them as an example and what they're going to do. Now, it houses the College of Liberal Arts, and that is really what the university is dedicated to. And these days, sort of where liberal arts are sort of backpedaling, as universities have become more sort of, let's say, fiduciarily skills oriented. This was a building and a university devoted to the education and the pursuit really of education and of science and of the classics, right? So the College of Liberal Arts is there, and that's really the first school. The School of Fine Arts opens in 1873, and that will entail music, art, and also architecture. And I think it's sort of an interesting aside that Syracuse University has one of the very first architecture programs in the United States. And interestingly enough, you have a sort of a bit of a tension there. Horatio Nelson White, who designs the building, his understudy is a gentleman whose name you may recognize, Archimedes Russell. Archimedes Russell, perhaps more than any other architect, sort of shapes the built environment at Syracuse University. He's responsible for designing Krause College, the Holden Observatory, the Von Ranke Library to begin with, and the original gymnasium as well. He actually put a bid in on the Hall of Languages, got beat by his former boss. I just love that story, but Russell would get his just desserts as he would win a lot of going forward. But here we have the College of Fine Arts, which really sets the standard for colleges like this in the Northeast. This is a shot on the stairs, the back stairs. You'll recognize those balustrades. They're still there. Some of the only original stuff left after the renovation. This is the very first class as they neared their graduation. And the gentleman I'd like to point out here that I'm circling, if you can see my cursor, is George Fisk Comfort, who serves as the longtime dean of the College of Fine Arts. And he's a really significant figure in American art, culture, art movements, and art museums. He is a founding member of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, in addition to the Museum of Fine Arts here in Syracuse, which will morph into our beloved Everson Museum in the 1960s. So he is an incredibly important figure in the history of the university, in the history of the city of Syracuse, and really in the history of the national art culture in the United States. And so he helped shape the academic rigor, the selection process at Syracuse University for decades as dean there. This is, of course, a classic shot of the iconic clock tower, which we can all remember, we've all seen, that was a gift of the class of 1875. Here's a shot of the university as it's growing, and this is taken circa 1888. And what you'll see here is the Holden Observatory, which has since been moved, right? And this is a shot of the back of the Hall of Languages. So you're looking down towards what would then still be the Erie Canal, right, which is not filled in yet. This is actually a picture taken. You can sort of see the Von Ranke Library being built then, but this is still the only place where classes are being held in the entire university is in the Hall of Languages. By 1889, when this picture is taken, my friends, this is actually dedication day for the Krause College, Krause Memorial College. I love this shot. You now see also the addition of the central tower, which was added to the Hall of Languages in 1888. You'll have noticed in the original images, we did not have that sort of iconic structure in the middle. And what you're looking at here are really all the dignitaries gathered for the dedication of the newest and gorgeous building. I mean, I love the Hall of Languages. I vacillate. I don't know. Sometimes I love Krause Memorial College more than the Hall of Language. I don't know if I should say that at this presentation, but I just did. So we're gonna say it. They're both gorgeous. But you hear, big crowd turned out for that building, and it's finally going to allow the music school to move out of the Hall of Languages. There are hilarious reports from students complaining about the music and the loudness as they're trying to study. You can imagine you have these musicians playing in the same building. It's not a good situation. And so finally there's a new building and the music school is able to move over into that. But to give you a sense of how, what's going on and like what the university is like, the college itself, the entire university has 1,000 students at this point. So from 41 right? You've had 1,000 students have come through the doors in the last several years in the 1890s. And this, what you're looking at right now, is one of these curiosities that I found during the research for this presentation. This is a painting done by Samuel Morse, the inventor of the telegraph, who is also an incredibly gifted artist. This is, what is the name of this? This is the Exhibition Gallery of the Louvre. And Morse painted this in 1833. George Fisk Comfort gets this, right? He acquires this painting, and it hangs completely with no ceremony whatsoever in the hallways in the Hall of Languages for decades, right? Decades and decades and decades. It's taken down in the 20s and it's stuffed in a closet in Krause Memorial College, where it is found in the 70s. The university then turns around. At this point, this has become like a prized piece of art. The university turns around and sells it for $3.5 million in 1982, which roughly translates to about $11.5 million now. Sitting in the Hall of Languages for decades, hanging then in a closet. But so if you were old enough to remember, anybody that walked through the Hall of Languages basically from 1888 to 1922 would have seen this incredible painting, which is now in the collection of the Seattle Art Museum. One of the things that shocked me about the research for this talk was the fact that what you're looking at right here, my friends, is one of only 3 interior shots that I could find in special collections and in our collections at the OHA of the interior of the Hall of Languages before the renovations in the 70s. So this is as close as we're going to get to sort of a time machine going back to see what those students at SU saw from 1873 to the beginnings of renovations in the 1970s. So I wanted to put this up so you could get a sense of what that building looked like, because as a person who went to graduate school at SU beginning in 2006, obviously it was long after this. So some of you might remember the old building, and if you have any pictures of it, I would love to see them. That would be really, really great. Here's a shot of the so-called Three Sisters as well. This is right after the completion of the Krause Memorial College. You can see the Krause Memorial College, you can see the Von Ranke building, and the Hall of Languages. One of the interesting things that I did not necessarily mention as well, when they built the building in 1871, in the northeast corner of the building, and you might notice there's a huge stone there that sort of looks out of place. There is a massive time capsule in there that contains about 15 different items, including yearbooks, course materials, newspapers, a Bible, and several other things. So far as we know, they have not cracked into that, but that would be right over here in the northeast corner of the building. So take a look for that next time you're on campus. We're talking about buildings and we're talking about the Hall of Languages, and those of you that can picture the entrance to the Hall of Languages know that it was called the John D. Archbold Liberal Arts College. Archbold is, until the Newhouse family came through, was the largest, most magnanimous benefactor that the university had ever seen. Archbold is the board president. He is the president of the board of trustees beginning in 1894. Over the course of his career as really the head of philanthropy at SU, he will donate upwards of $85 million to the school, which will include funding for everything from the Hall of Languages to parts of Krause College, to obviously Archbold Oval and Archbold Stadium and Archbold Gymnasium, which when they were completed in the back of the Hall of Languages were simultaneously the largest concrete football stadium in America, and Archbold Gymnasium was the largest gymnasium on any college campus for decades after it was built. He is the second in command to John D. Rockefeller at Standard Oil, one of the wealthiest men in the world, and a lover of Syracuse University. He is a devout Methodist, and it is his Methodism that leads to his life of service at Syracuse University. And he is also responsible for hiring this man, one of the most important figures in the history of Syracuse University. This is Chancellor James Roscoe Day, here in all of his convocation regalia. When he becomes chancellor in 1894, so Hall of Languages is 21 years old, the university has 751 students total, 60 faculty, and only 4 buildings, right? By the time he retires, as you can see from the graph, he has turned Syracuse University into a world-class institution of higher learning with 5,600 students, 350 faculty, and 24 buildings, really allowing for the Hall of Languages to focus on the college, the liberal arts college and the fine arts college, and getting rid of sort of the rest of the schools as they found their own buildings on campus, right? Interestingly enough, those of you that are in academics, this is something that sort of gets kicked around all the time. I remember hearing it when I was up on the Hill, right? The idea that Day also expands the college and he secularizes it. He recognizes that athletics are going to be really important to growing it, and he secularizes the college. Professors, particularly those in their offices in the Hall of Languages, are really dismayed at what they say are the decreasing academic standards of the university as they try to grow enrollments and swell enrollment. So, nothing is new under the sun, my friends, right? So here is a shot of Hall of Languages with the sort of iconic entranceway, which is completed in 1910, 1911. And what I love about this picture in particular is that this is literally taken while the construction is just ending. You can actually see workmen's rags and covers on the stairs of what is now sort of the iconic shot of campus. When I think of SU, I think of standing on University Place, looking up at Hall of Languages. In fact, I was just obviously there last week and took a couple pictures. Speaking of which, here is another great shot. This will undoubtedly stir some memories in some folks. What I love about this one is that here we have some folks. This is early 1930s, so during the Great Depression. In the upper left, you will see this piece of ivy, which will take over the entire building, right? And this, what you're looking at here in probably 32, 33, is half of the building is covered in that ivy. This was literally taken. This is how important people sort of saw this building in this college. Somebody took a picture of that first growing ivy strand and kept it in the collection. Little did they know that it would encase the entire college and it would cost them quite a bit to remove it. I mean, they would keep removing it again and again and again, but there's something so quintessentially college. I remember when I walked on campus the first time, I was struck by the beauty of it. I had never been, even though I grew up a fanatic Syracuse fan. I never made it to the Dome, except for one trip to play high school football. But here we had this beautiful campus covered in ivy, even though Syracuse not in ivy, maybe should be, but this beautiful shot here. And I also love that you can see down here in the left corner, University Place and University Avenue running all the way down to the college. Some more quintessential shots of a university in the throes of tremendous growth. This is the 1930s and early 1940s. Here is the pediment above the door, as I mentioned earlier, John Dustin Archbold's College of Liberal Arts. I love this shot on the left. It's sort of like right out of the college catalog that they probably sent around in 1935. You've got the guy in the Letterman sweater, and then the gentleman all dressed up in these beautiful suits. As someone who spends a good amount of time on college campuses, they don't dress like that anymore, right? And here I am in a hooded sweatshirt. So who am I? Who am I to talk? But so Syracuse University, and again, at the center of it all, the heart of the college, the heart of the university is the Hall of Languages. What you're looking at here is a shot of the quad on the back of the school. And again, those of you that graduated before 1978 and before 1979 will recognize this view, right? This is the old back stairwells, the old back staircases, just as they would have looked in 1873. This is after the GI balls. At Syracuse University, it grows by leaps and bounds as a result of the GI Bill. But even before that, what's fascinating, what I did not know until we did the research for this is, if you can believe it, they almost tore the Hall of Languages down in 1922. Just before Chancellor Day retires in 1922, there is talk of blowing out the back of the Hall of Languages to build a giant auditorium to hold the increasing size of the events that were happening at the university. They almost took it. They're going to blow the back out. Then there's discussions about just taking the whole thing down, because by that point, the building is 70 years old. Or excuse me, my math is not too bad. The building is about 50 years old. And there is sort of a take that it's fallen apart on the inside. It's lost its charm. As the university has grown and the enrollment has gone up, they're going to need more space. Luckily, thankfully, they do not decide to do that, but they will do slow renovation. But this is all going to start moving the ball forward, because by the time 1948, Syracuse enrollment jumps. So when Day retires in 1922, when they almost condemn the building, you've got 5,600 enrolled. In 1948, as a result of the GI Bill, what's called the GI Bulge at Syracuse University, 9,120 veterans enrolled out of a total enrollment of 15,000 students. We really should measure the history of Syracuse University and therefore the Hall of Languages before and after World War II, because it transforms the university, and that really takes place under the leadership of Chancellor William Tolley, who coincidentally attends the College of Liberal Arts in the Hall of Languages and actually graduates from Syracuse in 1922. All of these historical convergences. I love these things. These things make me geek out. This I just love. This is sort of like, to me, like if you said central casting, tell me what college looked like in the 1940s and 1950s. I'm like Dobie Gillis is in there somewhere or something, right? You've got all these the co-eds dressed up in their finest clothes, standing outside the building, which you can't even see the entrance to because of the ivy that had taken over. So they had not trimmed it up. But again, this is a campus that would have seen just outside the Hall of Languages, basically Potemkin villages built to house the thousands of students coming in from all over the country. One of another interior shots of the classroom at the Hall of Languages. This is, again, I only found 3. These old desks, somebody probably has one up on campus, but you can see in the chairs, the SUs in the metalwork, right? Not a detail was spared in that $130,000 that they built that building for. Now, by 1976, this building is 100 years old. Syracuse University is a world-class institution. There are upwards of 45 buildings at that point. And the grand old dame, as she was known, has turned 100 years old, and it is time to fix her. There is talk in the 70s of demolishing the building. Again, doesn't really go anywhere. By the 1970s, there was a really, really robust preservation movement that had taken place all across the United States. And really that had been spurred in part by the demolition of a Pennsylvania station in New York City, which really got the preservation movement kicked into gear. But here in Syracuse, there is a really sort of a bit of an uproar when some of those plans leak out. So the plan is going to be, we need to raise money. We're going to gut this thing, right? And in 1975, and what you're looking at here, this is Chancellor Melvin Eggers, along with Chancellor Tolley and Chancellor Day, one of the most important figures in the history of the university. You've got the building is placed on the National Historic Register in 1875, which is really critically important. And that really is a victory for the preservationist wing of people who said, we can't tear this gorgeous building down. What are we thinking? It is Syracuse University. You can't tear it down. And so getting it placed on the National Register was really, really critically important to doing that. In 1976, the plans for the renovation are put out. And you've got, this is the feasibility study of the firm that takes care of that. Here is the interior demolition shots. I'm going to throw a couple demolition shots at you. They gutted this thing down to the studs, right? And as I said, when they built it, it was a combination of concrete, masonry work, wrought iron. Demolition was a serious pain. I hopefully don't get anyone dizzy. This is not an MC Escher drawing. This is actually a shot of the gutted Hall of Languages looking downward toward the floor. They ripped out every single floor. And what they found were the bones of this building were really incredible. The masonry work held up incredibly well. The foundation had held up incredibly well, which, as anyone who knows the topography of Syracuse knows, is a real testament to the builders in 1873. I love this shot. This is, of course, one of the old support arches of brick looking out the back door. This is, of course, a view that some of you, again, may remember, but those of us that came after would never. Here is a shot of the back staircase. One of the back staircases, which has, of course, now been replaced with those beautiful glass and steel atrium walkways. Here is the plan that was put out in the original document to try and fix it. This is what I recognize when I think of the Hall of Languages. Renovation would take about 18 months. They closed the building for a year. All in, soup to nuts, planning to dedication takes about 3.5 years. Rededication of the building takes place in September of 1979, and it is dedicated to Dean Eric Fagel, who was Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences as it becomes known in 1971. So that liberal arts college becomes the College of Arts and Sciences, which is, of course, our host for today. And Director Eric Fagel, beloved by students, beloved by administrators, beloved by the Syracuse community, sort of dies really unexpectedly. And so as a testament to him and as an honor to him, the building is rededicated in his honor. His wife is there in his stead at the dedication. $4 million all in to fix the building. It wins several national architecture awards. The work is really incredibly well done. And what you're looking at here is actually a picture from an Architectural Digest in 1981 that is a really wonderful retrospective on the technical aspects. So if there are any of you that are architects you would actually probably love to read up on that. But it is a great day for the city. It is a great day for the university. And in many respects, it calls back to their dedication that we started our presentation with in May 8, 1873, 106 years ago, when you had the city coming together with the university up on the hill for this wonderful rededication and really renewing, if you will, the heart of Syracuse University. Here we are. This is an image that exactly mirrors the view that we started with, 1875 to 2023. At the center of our beloved institution sits the Hall of Languages, which housed the university by itself for 14 years, which continues to sort of hold itself in our hearts. And it remains among the most beautiful campuses, I know I'm biased, anywhere in the country. And there it is at the heart. I will say, by way of jest, they should have put a roller coaster on that roof of the JMA Wireless Dome, right? They really missed an opportunity on that one. But I love the juxtaposition, the modernity of this sort of space age parabolic roof in a dome with this beautiful Second Empire Onondaga limestone containing fossils quarried right by the Onondaga Nation. And with that, my friends, I am going to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being attentive. Thank you for attending. I am happy to spend some time answering questions if I'm able to. And like I said, it was a real honor and a real pleasure to be with you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. Fantastic. And oh my goodness, you hit the time correct. We have 1 minute to spare. We wanted to make certain we left 15 minutes for Q&A. So nice job. Thank you. While people think of your question, we can put it in chat and I will read it to Bob, or you can raise your hand and I will call on you. But I have a question. Do you know what happened to the pipe organ?
The pipe organ was removed when they took it out, and they didn't have any use for it because they had already had this magnificent pipe organ built at Krause College. So as far as I know, it was scrapped, which is tragic.
Yes.
Also, to that question, interestingly enough, speaking of missing things, so we start with the bell ring, right? And the bell calls people to school and calls classes for decades. The bell goes missing randomly. And there are articles in the 70s as they're starting to talk about renovations. They're like, where is the bell? I also can find no record if the bell was ever found. So that bell that started our presentation is also vanished with the organ. Who knows where those things ended up?
Well, we do have a couple questions coming in. One from Melissa Welshons, class of 17. Where was the chapel located within the building?
The great question. The chapel was actually on the top floor. So it was on the top floor. It was the biggest space. Basically, it would have filled, if you're, I've got my my cursor here. It would have filled this space. It was absolutely massive on the top floor.
Wow. And Eduardo Miller, this is a great question. Why are the floorboards so creaky in that building, even if it was gutted in 1979?
You know what? That's a really good question. I've wondered that myself, but I can assure you that there are no surviving timbers in that building from the original. So I don't know. You'll have to take that up with the contractor, my friend.
Ed Belkin commented that during a business trip to Oswego a couple of years ago, there was a building, perhaps City Hall, that was a spitting image of the Hall of Languages. Do you know if it's the same architect?
I do know that Horatio Nelson White was prolific, and I know he designed lots of buildings in Oswego. So I would venture to guess that it could be. I can't say, right off the top of my head, but I do know that White had many buildings in Oswego, so that would not surprise me. And he loved the Second Empire style. So if it was, and that brings me to another point. Sorry, my mind is like a hamster on a wheel sometimes, guys. There's a rumor, and the university leans into it, but I'm a historian and I haven't found any actual corroboration for this, but there is a rumor that this building served as the inspiration for the Addams family mansion. Some of you may be familiar with this rumor. From what I can tell, there's no discernible evidence of that, and I'm not poo-pooing it or anything, but I'm just saying I haven't found any evidence. What I can say is that the gentleman, Mr. Adams, who is a descendant way removed from John Adams and the actual Adams family, did go to Colgate, and we used to beat up on Colgate in football all the time. So he very well may have seen this building on one of his visits to Syracuse. But there's also a building on Penn's campus which looks even more like the Addams family mansion, and that's where he actually went to undergrad once he left Colgate, but neither here nor there. But that question reminded me of that part of the presentation that I had left out. So thank you for that question.
Great. Well, in addition to questions, you're getting a lot of compliments and gratitude in the chat. So I hope you'll be able to see that. Liz Cole, classes of 8 and 16, was the third turret added solely to house the clock or for another reason?
No, not at all. Because the clock is actually there before that third tower is put in. So if you can look at some of the old pictures, they've got the clock going in and then they put the third tower. I think what it really was a symmetry thing. And they wanted to put it in and get a little more space up in the belfry, but there's not. I didn't go through and find out any real answers to that, but I do know that White had wanted a third tower when he started, but costs sort of kept that from happening, so he didn't get it. But that symmetry in that third tower would have been something that would have felt more along the line with the design that he would have liked to, but he wanted to get that bid, and as it stands, he came in significantly lower, about $20,000 lower than the next closest bid.
And Steve Kurtz, class of 74, asked, do you have a current picture of the back of the building?
There's a picture in the, let me see if I can go back. There's a little, so right here, that's a shot. I mean, the building looks exactly the same. So this from that Architectural Digest, you can see that's what the back of the building looks like. They haven't changed it at all.
Chris DeVoe, 79, who was there during the renovation. Were the original 2 wings, east and west, for men and women to keep them apart?
No, they were. They just had different wings. They went to class together, as you saw them sitting together on the stairs in 1875. That sort of comes a little bit later.
Other questions or thoughts that you'd like to share? Monica Sandler from the class of 89, is the very cool mural still on one side? I'm bad with east and west, but me too. But the side closest to the School of Architecture.
Well, there's no mural on the Hall of Languages. They may be thinking of the Sacco and Vanzetti mural that's on HBC. Because there is no mural on the Hall of Languages. The Hall of Languages is all still that original limestone. So
yes, we're hearing that you're correct. It is HBC.
Okay.
And
it is an awesome mural, and it is still there. Yes.
Eduardo has another question. And where did students live in those early days?
So students lived at housing really wherever they wanted. There were some apartments down on Irving Avenue and on University Place and on Ullman. So they lived in off-campus housing, particularly for the first couple of years. They were going to classes in the Myers block, and then again there was no on-campus dormitories per se. They wouldn't come until much later. So students sometimes lived together, roommates and such, but a lot of students also at that particular point were in fraternities. it's something that I was gonna sort of mention, but I wanted to keep it tight. Fraternity life at Syracuse University, like most of the colleges and universities of this day, is really, really critical. So fraternity houses are where a lot of students live, particularly male students. But even, I mean, the women, right? One of the first female sororities in the country, I think, in fact, the first female sorority in the country is founded at Syracuse University. And there was a plaque in the Hall of Languages for a long time. It was, so the sorority was Alpha Phi. And it was founded in 1872. So to my understanding, it's the oldest female sorority in the country. And it was founded at SU, and the plaque came out during renovations and was replaced in the building somewhere.
Great. And Jackie Fishman Santoro asked, where were classes held during the renovation?
All over the rest of the campus. So by the 70s, you had, this was well after the boom. So you just had classes meet wherever they could. They made it work.
Great.
A lot of classes in classes in HBC, a lot of classes in Sims, a lot of classes in Link, a lot of classes in Maxwell Hall too. Maxwell Hall did some heavy lifting.
Well, you know, so Harris Sokolov stepped away for a minute, but maybe you talked about it then. But I was told that the Hall of Languages was bigger and housed dorms at one time, and that a fire destroyed them. That is not true?
Not that I've ever come across. Not as far as I know, there was no fire there. The Hall of Languages is the original. The building is the same footprint that it's been. But you know, I don't know everything, but I did not see. I have not heard of that before. I feel like I would have heard about that, but.
Right. Would you share? I know you shared earlier with us the cost to, was it to purchase? No, the land was donated, and then the cost of the building originally.
The cost of the building originally was $130,000 just before the collapse of 1873. So they got in right under the wire. Again, adjusted for inflation, that's $2.7 million, which is really cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Or Bob, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with us? And again, please make certain you look at the chat.
I will look at the chat, and I thank you all. No, I mean, I don't. I mean, I could talk for hours, but I don't want to keep you. I think I've, you know, said everything like that I would want to say. I said, I'm so grateful for everyone that showed up. I mean, it's beautiful here in Syracuse. So thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully, if you're watching it, you're outside on your phone or something. But I really, really appreciate it. So it's an honor, you know, as an alumni to have come here as a graduate student, as a lowly graduate student, and now to be back presenting, you know, is really a treat, and it's really an honor. And I'm just so grateful for my time at Syracuse and for the faculty and the staff and all the people there. Forever grateful, forever orange.
Nice. One last question. Do you have the original versus the renovated square footage?
You know what? I probably do in a picture. If you give me a second, let me see if I can figure it out, because I've got the entire plan, actually. Let me see if I can find it here. Bear with me, my friends, those of you that asked this question. See if we can find it.
Well, Marianne Curley, because I think maybe she is a Kappa, says that Alpha Phi is not the oldest sorority. Kappa
Okay.
Theta is, she's a Theta, sorry, not a Kappa.
Okay. Well, they're excellent. You know what? I'm not seeing a full square footage. So I don't want to waste anyone's time trying to go through my copious notes on this. So I do apologize. I will have to I do know that if you Google the Hall of Languages, the library system has I think they have all of that data right at your fingertips.
Great. Well, thank you, Bob, and to everyone that attended, and on behalf of the College of Arts and Sciences Dean's Advisory Board, I thank you for your loyal support and interest in your alma mater. Have a great evening.